Hi, welcome back. In the last section, we did speak a little bit about why we think the way we think, why we are very eager to actually come up to some immediate answers, the shortcuts we spoke about. And I hope you actually did a little bit of reading on what is our system one thinking, what is the system two thinking. If you have not, I strongly encourage you to start reading more about it. It's very interesting how humans make decisions, how our thought process works, and it can actually help you not only understand humans better for your regular interactions, but if you look at marketing, it's all about understanding what humans are looking for. How do you sell them better? Unless you understand them better, how will you sell them more or better? Similarly, if you look from human resources perspective, you will be able to actually manage teams better. You will be able to lead teams better. You will be able to make them more productive and more cohesive if you understand how humans actually take decisions, how we process information. All of this is related. So as long as you understand system one, system two thinking, and in general, how humans make decisions, I think it's certainly going to help you in multiple areas. Coming back to this particular learning process course, problem solving with structured thinking. So remember, in the last module, we spoke a little bit about if I have a noisy neighbor, how will I resolve this particular situation? Now, let's reflect. I hope you had the chance to reflect on that particular problem statement. But if not, we can do it now. So let's see. If I actually come to you and ask you, how will I actually resolve a situation where I have a noisy neighbor and this person actually plays music very loudly at odd hours, typically night hours, and this is my sleeping time. How will I approach this problem? Now, what will happen? Many of us will jump to conclusions like, oh, sure, I would like to actually go to the society members association, talk to them, complain. Somebody would probably come and say that, Saurabh, why don't you actually go and talk to this neighbor directly and maybe threaten him or her? Sure, these are possible solutions. But if you look at, these are solutions coming from our surroundings, past experience we have had. And we gave a term to this particular situation. We called it availability heuristics. And these were actually shortcuts which came to your mind, immediate solutions I can actually offer right now. But is that the way we should be resolving situations? Maybe it sometimes works, maybe it sometimes doesn't work. So what should we be really doing? Should we be addressing a situation like this with a shortcut answer, which our system one is necessarily generating, or differently? Certainly, we would like to address it differently. And that's the whole idea of this particular course on structured thinking and problem solving. So let's take a step back. Let's keep system one aside and engage our deeper thinking, our critical thinking. How will you approach this problem? So let's say, I really need to address this problem of noisy neighbor. What can I do? I will start by asking some questions, by asking, how can I? Now, it sounds interesting, how can I? But what kind of questions I can start? So if you look at, I have a problem with sound. How can I resolve this particular situation? Maybe I can look at multiple ways of solving it. I can ask myself, how can I make sure that the sound doesn't reach me? How can I make sure that the sound doesn't travel to me? How can I make sure that the sound doesn't disturb me? So these are the three logical steps, if you look at, or the three logical possibilities. End of the day, the idea is I don't want to get disturbed. It's not about whether my neighbor is playing music or not. I'll be very happy if he or she plays in her earphones and doesn't disturb me, but I need to reach that situation, right? I'm saying, okay, can I look at from three angles at this in this particular situation? Can I control the sound, the source? Can I control the medium so that it doesn't reach me? Can I control the impact at the recipient level? It doesn't disturb me. So at each of this, if I look at each of these options, I will come up with some possible solutions from an angle like, can I solve it at source? Can I solve it at medium? Can I solve it at recipient level? Now from a source, what can I do? One way, certainly, as all of you might have thought about it, can I go and talk to my neighbor himself or herself? Sure, that's one possibility. But are there other possibilities? Certainly. I can certainly go and talk to my neighbor and talk to my association and say that, okay, can we put pressure on this particular neighbor not to play music at odd hours? That's one possibility. Another is, can I go to higher level authorities, maybe law enforcement agencies like police? Sure, I can do that. That's a possibility. Can I threaten my neighbor? Certainly, that may not be feasible. I may not want to take that path. But is that a possibility? That's a possibility. That's the whole idea of critical thinking, structured thinking. generating ideas, generating possibilities, generating feasibilities. Whether you will do it or not, that's secondary. And we will talk about it. How do we determine what should I follow, what should I not follow? And that's, in fact, we call it as a criteria. We follow a particular criteria, we have criteria parameters, we apply those criteria parameters. If they meet if the particular solution possibility meets our criteria parameter, we will apply it. If it doesn't, we will not. Certainly, works like that. So now let's talk a little bit on the medium side. Now we spoke, I can address the problem at source, and many of your ideas which you gave me or thought about were actually focused at the source itself, stop the music itself. Sure, but can I also think about medium? Medium, if you look at it, the music is playing somewhere, it's reaching me. How can I stop in the medium? But can I request my neighbor soundproofing their windows? That's one alternative. From a medium perspective, can I invest money in making my windows soundproof so that I don't receive that particular piece of music or sound? That's another possibility. From a recipient level, if you look at, very interestingly, I can invest in noise cancellation headphones. I can probably practice meditation, yoga, so that it doesn't affect me, the loud music doesn't affect me. Another possibility, I can think of or consider changing my shift timings. Maybe I work in the morning hours, I might consider working in evening hours. Now, you might be thinking, sorry, why would I do that? Sure, 100% with you on that. But my point is, the idea of structured thinking, critical thinking is, can we at least lay down possibilities? Whether we will pick A or B or C or D, that's secondary. That comes based on what is our criteria. How will I set? What is my selection criteria? I will have criteria, and maybe my criteria does not allow me to pick changing my shift timings. Maybe my criteria does not allow me to shift my location itself, but these are still possibilities. See, remember, this takes us a little bit of an effort and time over a period of, maybe months, weeks, sometimes years. Practice. How do we structure our thinking without judging or coming up with a solution? The moment we give, ideas, we are engaging in shortcuts. We are engaging our system 1, but the job is, can we engage our system 2 thinking and actually come up with possible list of options we can explore? And that's what we are trying to achieve here in this case. Now, coming back to recipient, I can possibly, do certain other things. Some of you might be thinking, possibly I can gift my playlist to the neighbor and say, okay, anyways, you're going to play some music. Why don't you play the music I like so that I can start enjoying this music as well, right? So these are all possibilities. But if you look at, we will have a structured way, which is easy for us to communicate to anybody, which is also easy for us to reflect upon, which is also easy for us to apply our selection criteria and then determine whether it works for me or not, right? So from a consulting background perspective, I can share that business consultants, when we solve problems, we are always looking for something called as an MECE. It is mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive list. So we are looking for MECE list of options, which are possibilities to resolve the situation we are currently in. And just a quick reminder, if you remember, we defined what is a problem. Problem is actually a gap between your current state and your desired state. In this case, my current state was, I have loud music coming and disturbing me. My desired state was, I don't want to be disturbed by loud music. It wasn't necessarily that I don't want to hear loud music. I don't want to be disturbed by loud music. So if you look at the problem statement from a holistic perspective, then you start looking at all the possibilities. But as I mentioned, many times we are designed actually think in this way, in a shortcut way, system 1 thinking way, wherein we start jumping to conclusions. So we actually do not even define the problem well. Once you define the problem statement well, then it's easier for you to come up with different options to resolve that particular situation, right? So I hope you enjoyed this particular, solving this particular problem statement. I'll give you another one and we will walk through that problem statement together. And this will help you actually practice this framework of applying structured thinking to A, define problems, B, figuring out what are the possible solutions in more interesting way. So bear with me. So the problem statement is, I want to save more money every month, right? So I'll repeat it for you. The problem statement is, I want to save more money every month. So if you look at what is the problem, my current state is I am making X savings And my desired state is I certainly want to increase my savings going on every month. So think about it. How would you approach this particular problem? I know some of ideas coming to your mind. I have been, doing this exercise in my classrooms for many, many years. And some of the answers I do get from students, learners is primarily, Saurabh, by the way, you can do intraday trading. Saurabh, how about you actually start with investing in mutual funds which give more than 15% interest? Saurabh, are you investing in FDs, fixed deposits? You might want to reconsider changing your money from FDs to another things. Sure, these are some good ideas I can explore. But again, let's take a step back. Is it my system 1 thinking or is it my system 2 thinking which is giving me these answers? Most of the answers which we just discussed are coming from my system 1 thing. These are shortcuts. Why did these answers come to my mind to start with? Because you and I probably have heard about these options from our friends. We have read about it in the newspaper. We have also possibly watched some videos of some influencers on multiple social media platforms. Fair. Are these possibilities? In my mind, from a structured thinking perspective, these are certainly possibilities. But is it something which I should take as a solution? Maybe not. Let's take a look at it. How do we structure this? Let's go step by step in structuring this particular problem statement and then finding what are the various possible ways for us actually help me increase my savings over a period of time, month on. So the current state is I have X savings. My desired state is I want to increase my savings. Now, from that perspective, if we talk about what is savings? Savings is a function of income and expenses, right? Now, when we say savings is a function of income and expenses, in order to achieve that, either I increase income or I reduce my expenses, or I do both, right? Now, once you have established this thought to start with, now your question will be, how do I increase my income? Or how do I decrease my expenses? Now, what are various sources of income? Let's explore that. Structured thinking. Now, where do I get my money from? I get my money from, maybe I could get my money from gifts. Maybe we are certainly not begging, borrowing, or stealing. So we stick to genuine sources of income. So we are saying, okay, my income can come from my gifts. My income can come from my investment instruments. That's where many of you actually started thinking, can I invest in mutual funds? But this is one of the possibilities, remember? So can I get gifts? Can I get more return on my savings? This will increase my income overall, absolutely. Can I get more money from work? So income from work is one source. Now, how do I get more income from work? Let's break that down further. I can get more money from work by 2 ways broadly. Either I work more hours at the same rate or I increase my charge rate. So I can actually get more income by working more hours. What can I do? Possibly we have heard of options. People can do hobby classes. You are good at baking. Maybe you can take some baking classes over the weekends, make some extra money on that. Absolutely. Some people have been moonlighting. I might pick up multiple contracts with another agencies in addition to my current line of work. We can also look at, can I do some weekend gigs? Can I, not just my hobbies, but just do some weekend gigs of different kinds of work and get more money, which means it increases my income. And eventually it increases my saving because I have not touched my expenses yet. As I said, the savings is a function of income and expenses. Income go up, expenses go down. At least one of thing has to happen for savings to go up, or both. That's a win-win situation. Now, let's take a look at how do I increase my income by working the same number of hours, but I should be able to charge more hours, charge more money for those hours. So what are some of the possibilities? One of the possibilities, I find another job which pays me more. I get promoted at my workplace. And how do I achieve all of these things? Maybe I upskill myself so that, I'm able to charge more for the time I'm spending at work, either my gigs or my full-time roles. Now let's go back and look at when we said savings, income, increase income, or decrease expenses. Now, if I have to decrease expenses, what are some of the possibilities? Now, many of you might be already thinking, Saurabh, you can actually go and, cancel all those subscriptions. In fact, very interestingly, I have been told once by one of my learners, easiest way to save more money is delete your UPI app, because you will actually not make these smaller payments very often. the ease of spending money. Actually, you don't realize that, how much money you have spent and where all the money has gone. We don't even keep track of how much money we have spent using earlier we used to say credit cards, now UPI apps. And I think I'm completely on board with my, learner when she said that easiest way to save money, delete your UPI so that you don't even spend money. Fair, but, we know that, we have to spend money for our regular expenses. UPI app is certainly very convenient, but let's take a look at. But again, where did that answer came from? Because it was her availability heuristic. She saw and felt that I have been able to spend more money just because there is convenience of spending money using UPI app. So the idea is whether it's UPI app or it's credit cards or other thing, it's abstraction of finance, not the topic of our discussion for this course, but I would certainly encourage you to read more about abstraction of finance, and you will actually realize that the more convenient the money spending becomes, the more money we actually end up spending. But as I said, not for today's conversation, not for this course, but something for you to take back and learn more about it. So coming back, where did that answer came from? It came primarily from her availability heuristic. She had been spending money, and that's what she felt that that's the only solution feasible. But is that the only solution feasible? Some of you might be thinking, oh, by the way, we have so many OTT subscriptions, we might want to actually cancel some subscriptions because while we are paying a lot of money, but we are not utilizing it to the core. Or maybe we should share our passwords with our family and friends so that we are able to save some money. Sure, some good ideas. I'm not denying that these are not possibilities, but is it a structured thought? Always remember, is it MECE? Is it mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive? So let's take a little bit deeper dive on how can I actually reduce my expenses. I can reduce my expenses by analyzing where I'm spending money. We can also reduce my expenses by doing certain other analysis. Can I consume less? I'm consuming. Can I consume less? Or can I buy the same consumption at a cheaper price? There is a difference. Might want 5 liters of a detergent, liquid detergent every month to run your household. Now, option is, are you buying? So can you analyze and see, are you buying in maybe packages of 1 kg, half a kg, which might come out to be expensive? So can I actually go and buy 5 kg packet at a cheaper price at a different place? That's one possibility. So again, from a structured thinking perspective, same consumption or lower consumption. If you want to have same consumption, then you need to certainly reduce the price where you are buying from. Lower consumption, you will have to analyze. Can I really lower down my consumption? And from a same consumption perspective, as I said, same brands if you want to continue to use, but then you might want to figure out, can I buy them at a cheaper price? Or can I buy a different brand which itself is cheaper? So for instance, if you're using, let's say, Surf Excel or Tide, can you do with another brand of detergent to fulfill your requirement? So these are some of the possibilities. As I said, you may be very loyal to your brands. I'm not suggesting that you necessarily shift, but the idea is, does it meet your criteria? So before you even determine the criteria process, the thing we need to keep in mind is, do I have a list of all the possibilities, apply my selection criteria, and then pick up? So the goal of structured thinking is to help you do MECE, come up with possibilities to resolve. So what was the problem statement in this case? My current state, my desired state. I have X savings, I want to increase savings. Rather than jumping to some answers, the idea is, can we look at from a structured perspective, income, expense, and then we did some exercise to figure out possibilities. Now you will sit on these possibilities, look at each possibility, apply your selection criteria, and then figure out what works for you, what doesn't work for you. And also remember, the another goal of critical thinking, problem solving, structured thinking is also to help you understand a solution which works for me may not necessarily work for you, because our selection criteria might be different, right? Thanks so much for spending time with me today on working a little further on structured thinking. So remember the 2 examples we have covered so far. We will build on these examples going forward. So first we started with noisy neighbor. Now we spoke a little bit about savings. These are from our daily lives. We all might have, been in these situations or have heard about these situations. But now if you look at apply the models which we have discussed, now you will see that how do we actually go about defining the problems? So it has to be current state, desired state. But then once you have established current state and desired state, please avoid making some conclusive remarks by saying, oh, by the way, spend money in, or invest money in mutual funds, or do not spend money on these items. The idea is to actually reflect back and then think about, okay, how do I? So always start by asking questions like, how do I achieve this? How do I achieve this? How do I achieve more savings, income, expense? How do I resolve the problem of, or how do I not get disturbed by loud music? So I hope you will reflect on the conversation we have had so far and reflect on the topics we discussed in this section and the previous section, and you are ready for the next section in solving some complex problems our way. Thank you so much for watching.